Oh, okay.
When Angel drops it, man, I'll get some hard line vocals, man.
The original. It's dancehall.
I'll have to bring back some bars.
So, are you going to record it as well? Are you going to record it as well?
Did you? I'm not going to multi-track.
I'll just record the...
It's recording now.
Because I
can try to give you that.
I think that music nowadays is losing a lot of its touch. I don't personally feel the warmth inside how I used to when I used to listen to certain tunes as a young kid and get that feel anymore. So when I found out the course involved, you know, using old things that they used to use in the studios, like other equipment, I thought it would be a nice, way to try get involved in something that could possibly bring back what I've been missing. A new day, a new grind, yeah. No matter what struggles you go through, we just continue to elevate.
Generations today have a completely different idea of music than people will have done 60 years ago.
Because nowadays, beats are just made by machines.
First off, I'd just normally get a beat from a producer, or take a beat off YouTube. Just literally pen something down and just just go into a studio and just lay it down, to be honest with you. Normally just work around a hook, structure my verses around the hook, and then that's me. I'll go into the studio with the engineer, do the track.
I have to get instrumental, and I write along to that instrumental, and then I put the instrumental on my USB, go to studio, put in a Mac, get the drag the instrumental on Logic Pro, and then I just jump in there and I just start rapping.
Firstly, if I get some inspiration, I usually write my bars on my phone, and then I'll go to studio in my local youth club, like 5 minutes away from my house, and then just go in studio and then just make tracks.
If there wasn't some of the technology we have today, there wouldn't be certain styles of music. Eventually they would have come in anyway, in one way or another, but maybe we wouldn't have such a wide variety of genres nowadays, because a lot of the genres depend on modern technology. So I think modern technology is just as important as the heritage side of it, because they both developed music.
So having spent 3 years doing a BA in music technology, what I found was that the focus had been very much on the power of computers and the wonderful stuff that you can do in the box, as we say. But my experience was, if you like, a bit of a frustration with that after a while, and I find myself going back to the hardware because, for a number of reasons, I think there's a sound issue where digital technology, for my ears anyway, certainly doesn't quite come up to the fidelity, if you like, of analog technology. And then also I think there's just the tactile interface of working with sliders and knobs and potentiometers, where there's an instant reaction. You don't feel that there's this sort of delay between turning a fader and having a MIDI controller send a message to say what level it should be replayed at. So I think there's definitely something about the interaction of the human with the actual technology. Over a period of weeks during the summer last year, we did sessions with the young people where I introduced the sort of concept and theory behind synthesis, and then allowed them to get hands-on with some of the equipment that I've accumulated over the years, dating back to the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, looking at the sort of transition and the changes in the technology throughout that period. What you could do, I'll tell you what, you could record the notes.
The analog synths, there's a bit of a vogue, I suppose, at the moment. In my opinion, the old synths, they sound the best. The modern digital stuff has its place, FM stuff has its place, all these things have their place, but to me, they kind of really reach out to me in the same way that a piano would, in the same way that Rhodes would. They're organic instruments, and they're really tactile, and they're fun to play with.
You need to start from the beginning for you to truly understand it, I think. A lot of people who make music, they just get a laptop and use the software without really knowing the history behind music. I think that's important.
If I had the most time in the world with all this equipment, I would do it this way. It's so much better. It's more hands-on, and you know what you're actually producing. It's not just someone else giving you the beat. You know, if you could sit there with someone and they're making it like that in front of you, it's perfect, really.
An interesting experience was one of the tracks we did by one of the young people, Monique, where she had an idea for a song which we worked out literally just with an acoustic guitar. And then we did, in the Slough Community Centre, we did a sort of an electronic version of the song using some of the synthesizers that I brought in. I think from memory we used a Moog Source for some bass and a Roland Juno 60 for some pads. And I think we had the TR-808 drum machine that day as well. So it was very much, it ended up sounding quite electronic but quite 80s because all that equipment was from that kind of era.
From day one, you've been stronger than any person I know. You bring me up whenever I am low. And I'll follow you wherever you may go. 'Cause you and I have fought so many battles, but you always pull me through the other side. So I sing
So I was quite surprised that, because I thought originally that if it came out as an electric track, it wouldn't sound as authentic as an acoustic track, but it actually played really well. And I like the sound of old school music, so the way it came out sounding like Michael Jackson was perfect for me. It really worked.
that I love you and you'll always be the music within me.
All I keep thinking when I hear Logic tracks, it's just staccato. It's a lot more staccato, and trying to get a soulful tune by using the instruments on Logic on a software like that, it's nowhere near the real deal. Like, obviously you've got the live instruments feel, but using the machines, it was a lot warmer.
I think with all this new music coming out, people are losing the passion and the dedication that artists used to have before. You listen to like old records, like I love like old blues and soul and stuff like Ray Charles. Nothing beats Ray Charles for me.
Dub mixing started in Jamaica in the late 60s. And what they would do is they would take an original reggae multi-track recording and they would run it back out into the mixing desk and kind of use the mixing desk almost like an instrument and create a completely remixed version of it by using the mixer and effects and some experimentation.
By moving the buttons, we were able to bring it in, bring it out, and then bring it back in, and delay it and reverb and all of that stuff. We were able to just basically make the song as we went along.
Just like the bass is, that's what I like to hear in the music bass. And I really like it in the sick.
One of the young people, Ike, who we first tried one of her song ideas in Slough, on a very basic dynamic mic in the studio, I think, with maybe a little keyboard or some guitar, I think, and we got a very rough demo done there, and then we moved into Snap Studios, and the facilities there are just absolutely fantastic. We had a vintage Telefunken or U47, I think it was. I had the privilege to play on a fantastic Bosendorfer Imperial grand piano that had come from, I think, Air Studios originally. So an amazing heritage there.
How could anyone say those things to you? Really hurtful things, and not one thing is true. How could anyone ever be so cruel? Sometimes people need to stop and think about the things they do. But it's okay, baby, I promise you'll be fine. I know right now it's raining, but the sun will shine and your heart won't be failing, and you will be alright. 'Cause that anyone couldn't have been in their right mind.
And to see her confidence grow as well as we progressed through the session. I think we probably did about 5 or 6 takes before she was really getting relaxed and confident. We'd kind of turned the lights down, made sure there was kind of nobody in the control room so that she felt comfortable, and we got some fantastic recordings at the end of it. It was an amazing experience.
I am Marco and I run Snap Studios. I'm the house engineer here, I'm the manager here as well.
For so long I have tried to press down.
I just started playing around and recording things, and just got really interested in making things sound how I thought they should sound, and then got into recording with artists and doing stuff in my bedroom and playing around, and then ended up in a studio. Well, analog basically means anything that, for example, our ears are analog. They could be classed analog. In recording, when people say analog, they tend to mean the medium that you record to, i.e. tape. So we use a lot of tape here, and that's a physical thing. It's nothing to do with computers. But we also do use computers here. We'll be using computers today. We've got pretty high-end equipment to be able to capture analog sound using analog equipment like microphones, and the instruments are analog as well. We can capture those and convert them into digital, and then we can mess with them in digital and do what we want from there.
It's brilliant. It's like you actually see the process of what happens in a studio.
They've definitely got everything you need in terms of recording. It's top notch in terms of studios.
Same now, stress in my life got me blowing at them breakdowns. I ain't trying to stay down, I'm just trying to make pounds, little boy. I'm just trying to get up at this playground. Stress I'm going through like times trying to bite your head.
I think over the whole period, they gradually grew to appreciate the difference and the value and the experience of using some of the old equipment, and also recording in a slightly different way. They may have been used to recording using a DAW, a piece of software on a laptop, where everything's recorded on top of each other, so it's one person sitting at home in a room just building a track up. Whereas what we were keen to show them was the whole recording process, where you might have 4 or 5 people in the studio at the same time, all just contributing live. And I think that whole process was quite an education for them as well. We had some fantastic sessions where we just went into the studio with 5 or 6 people, maybe myself playing piano, Matt on guitar, Alan playing bass, and young people either playing guitar, singing, rapping. We had a percussionist as well, and so it was just a fantastic experience for everybody to contribute and record live all at the same time.
In the ring, and emotionally I refused to be held back by the shackles and chains from life's needle. I was injected with struggling strain, but now immune, a master of dealing with pain, flipping the page.
The changes of technology have influenced the way in which we record. If I go back to that Brian Wilson surf music example, those studios in those days were 3-track. That's what you had available. And it wasn't really until the late 60s where you were able to, well, it was really the Beatles. They were taking 4-track and then bouncing it to another 4-track and going back and forth. When I came into the industry, 2-track and 3-track were the norm. And it was kind of interesting. You'd walk into a studio and you knew what kind of tape machine they had by the number of speakers that were over the control room window. If they had a 2-track machine, there were two speakers. If they had a 3-track machine, there were 3 speakers. And then about 1967-ish, if they had 4-track machine, there were 4 speakers, because that's how they did the monitoring: track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, and you heard what was going on. What the styles of working in those days was, you'd get the band in the studio with all of the musicians that you wanted, and you'd record them to 2 tracks, leaving you on 3-track a spare track, or on 4-track 2 spare tracks.
While I'm reminiscing, thinking about my dog spending 14 in the prison.
I think like the live jam sessions and just having the opportunity to work with different instruments that I wouldn't necessarily find in my local studio back home is been the best thing for me so far.
I mean, the difference is it's real. Like, you can sort of do it again if you flop or anything, but like, it's just like you can actually tell the drummer or the piano to play in this sort of way or in this key to make it, like, more realistic. Yeah.
It's very different, so it's kind of like, I'm not used to it, so it sounded very different but good. Different but good.
It is helpful that you can redo everything. Like, but live you get the authenticity, you feel the vibe of everything. Either way, I'm not fussed, but I do like the old way of doing things, so it's really, really cool to work with.
You know, I can't stress enough that you need to come into a studio pretty rehearsed on knowing what you're doing. I mean, I suppose you don't have to, but it's better to do that. If you were paying for that room, you know, people don't come in here and start working out what they're doing while they're here, well, rarely. So it's a good idea to come prepared as well, especially if you, like some of the vocals we were doing today, if they're reading off a piece of paper, you're not going to get the emotion and the delivery that you need. I think preparation is really important.
I did take a different approach because I thought, yeah, I need to nail all the parts down. I need to make sure I practice. I need to make sure it's going to sound good because I don't want to waste the time I have here, considering it's so, yeah, well, what it is.
I would probably get like all my stuff, because I didn't bring nothing. I would get all my stuff like ready, all the things that I've wanted to do that haven't been done before. I would get them ready, be like, yes, I've got my stuff, I'm ready to do this. I'll be on point.
As technology has evolved, I mean, when I started, I can remember everybody was really excited because they'd just taken delivery of the first 8-track analogue machine. Up until that point in time, you'd record 4 tracks, mix them down to 2 tracks of stereo, add 2 more tracks, mix them down, and so on and so forth. 8 channels of recording analogue was a big door opening to creativity and production. But as that evolved, and of course along came digital, and you've now got 192 channels, God forbid, goodness me, the whole way technology has impacted the creative process is very opening doors for some artists, but equally closing doors in the faces for others. So it all depends on this complex relationship between artist, technology and process.
Limitations are really good. You know, I'm guilty of it too. You know, when I write, you should just chop the things out that aren't working at that time, and that's it. Make those decisions. You know, I think it's the same in the studio though. In our environment, we do multi-track recording. We could, for example, record a drum kit with 24 mics if we wanted. Be a bit overkill, and then we could sit afterwards picking through the right combinations. Whereas, you know, in the old days, you're going down to tape, you'd commit your overheads and your toms to that stereo pair if you wanted. Usually you would. And you'd commit to that sound and you'd start building the track based on that sound. That's a good way of working, in my opinion. And, you know, you finish tracks then. And that's the thing, because it's nothing worse than having 20, 30 tracks all stacked up in an unfinished state. And when you've got too many options, that can happen quite often.
But yeah, I've learnt more about how important it is to try and get it right as much as you can, because people years ago, they didn't. Some of them might not have had a chance to like go back and change a little section, and if they got a little bit wrong, they might have to go and like record a whole section again. And so it's taught me that maybe I need to not rely on technology as much and try and improve myself as an artist.
You don't want to be wasting your time and your money and your blood, sweat and tears, like having to do, you know, millions and millions of takes. And, you know, I think like there's like a time period where you have that passion for the tune, and then it kind of goes out the window a little bit. You know, when we first came here the first time, we was working on a track, and, you know, the first time we smashed it, but like we wanted to do it again just to add certain things into it, and we couldn't kind of rekindle what we had the first time. You know, we started to mess up, and you didn't really kind of recapture what, you know, you first had. And I think that's why it's good to have everything learnt, why it's fresh, and you still got that passion for it, because you don't want to get it to the point where you leave it too long and then you're just like, oh, just forget it. You know what I mean?
What we had were limits, because there were only so many tracks available. And that created forced the ability to make decisions. And the downside for working digitally is that nobody makes decisions anymore. And you'll sit in the studio and you'll record, say, a vocal, and you'll comp it, and you'll say, that's the vocal. But the room may say, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, just give me one more track, all that. And you go, at some point you have to make a decision. And if you don't make decisions along the way, you save all those decisions for the mix process. And that encumbers the mix process with a great deal of responsibility that there may not be enough human energy to overcome. So there's compromises that tends to happen. You can't remember, why did we record 16, 18, 20 tracks of this guitar part? Why did we do that? There was a reason. And no one can remember because you've got 100 things like that on it. A guy came in, brought me an album that I mixed a few months ago, and I loaded up the Pro Tools session, right? And the Pro Tools session had 128 active tracks. And I said, what is all this? And he said, oh, we'll figure it out. It was exhausting. And the mix actually wasn't very good as a consequence.
Hold me close, never let me go. From day one.
Yeah, so it was a fantastic experience for me. I really enjoyed working with the young people, and it was a great buzz for me to get such positive feedback from them. They obviously really enjoyed the whole process, and it was quite an emotional experience. Very quick to sort of say, oh, you must keep in contact and keep, message me on Facebook and all the rest of it. So that was quite satisfying.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So it's good. It was quite fun, isn't it?
And would you do this again? Yes, I would.
You always pull me through the other side. So
Well, what I've enjoyed personally is, there's been some really talented musicians, particularly some unbelievable singers, really, and some great songs as well, surprisingly written very quickly in the time that the people have been here, which, it's a pleasure to work with, and obviously people have come with no ego, so it's really nice. It's really nice to work with people like that. There's some genuine talent, definitely.
Baby, show me what you got. Don't wanna let up a little, want a little love a lot. We can wind it down, we can slide and fight to the middle of the night. Boy, I don't mean to be rude, but I got a little something I can teach you. Yeah. So baby, won't you show me what you got?
It was a Friday night up on the high street. It was raining but she shined and she walked beside me. A nice little thing. And her arse look nice in them tight jeans. Those younger born wear it looking kinda pricey. Type of girl any man would want for wifey. So I approached her politely, said, baby girl, I am inquiring. Is your heart open? Is it love that you're finding? I'm no ledge from the video, so why don't you come and kick it with me though? Cause I was fighting against temptations, but you look nice. And if loving you's wrong, I don't wanna be right. I play with so many girls, hot off the one night. But see you, I could see you in my life, that's no fronting. I am not stunting, cause I'm not on Pharrell's hype. Just give me one night.
Baby, show me what you got. Don't wanna light up a little, want a little love a lot. We can wind and dine, we can slide and vibe to the middle of the night. Boy, I don't mean to be rude, but I got a little something I can teach you. Yeah. So baby, won't you show me what you got?
Now me and her, we were speaking for a bit of time. We ain't together, but she always stays on my mind. Numerous phone calls from the early morn to the night, where we talk casually about the future and the present time. And I tell her I always want her by my side, ride or die. We the tightest team, no Bonnie and Clyde. I know that she wants to be my wife. My love's unconditional, nothing be coming with a price. When I'm stressed in the day, she always brightens mine. And I love that the way she always speaks her mind. In the bedroom she goes low like a coal mine, to the slow jams while we slow grind. Peng little ting, she's got her own mind, and she's got my heart, yeah, she stole mine. I can't wait to see you like it's home time, but this ain't Russian roulette, but her brain sick, she blows minds.
Baby, show me what you got, I wanna